about how people are complaining about AI. AI is going to revolutionize everything. It is going to change absolutely everything that's going on in our day-to-day lives, our day-to-day work, everything. AI is going to affect absolutely everything. There's no stopping it. You have to embrace it. It's like the .com era. Everyone rejected the internet when it first came out. Well, guess what? You use it every day. AI is going to be the same thing. So this is where personal brand comes in, because AI, yes, 1000% it's going to replace jobs. Because AI is faster than you, it's smarter than you, and it's cheaper than you. If you don't like how things are, change it. You're not a tree. And that's legendary James Rowe. Have you ever read something like that just slaps you right in the face with truth? I mean, it hit me like a brick the first time I heard it. Because the reality is we are constantly being fed fear every week. It's something new, whether it was COVID, World War III, tariffs, economic collapse, AI takeover. It's like society is addicted to fear. And most people, they're absolutely paralyzed by it. We've been conditioned to wait, to worry, to freeze. But you want to know what fixes all of that? Living the best fucking life possible. It's not just about surviving, it's thriving. It's not just reacting, it's creating. Because you're not a tree, you're not stuck. You just have been tricked into thinking that you don't have a choice. And guess what? I'm here to remind you that you 100% do. So, welcome back to the Next Day Nomad Podcast. I'm your host, Jarrod Evanyshyn. And as always, thank you so much for being here. So, let's talk about something that I see every day online. As a recruiter, scrolling through my LinkedIn, scrolling through digital nomad forums, scrolling through Instagram, I see the same thing. People are constantly complaining about their lives. They hate their job, their boss is toxic, they feel unappreciated. They say they have no time, no money, no freedom. And you know what they do rather than do something about it? They post about it. They scroll, they doom scroll. They go back to doing absolutely nothing because they're paralyzed to the fear that is constantly being fed to them over nonstop propaganda. And this is not just one political party that's doing this. This is doesn't matter if you're right, whether you're left. It's the left hates Trump, the right hates trans and all this other bullshit that's going on, but they keep forgetting that you have the power to change everything and block all that bullshit out for yourself. You can't post your way out of your life. You're not willing or willing to change. Venting can feel good, and I get it, but when venting becomes a lifestyle, well, then you're just recycling the same complaints for months and even years, and you're just recycling the same goddamn nonsense that you're reading and feeding into, which is just creating a vicious cycle. And that's why your Instagram feed or all this other stuff on your social media is completely nonsense. And you're not actually seeing stuff that's actually going to change your life. So you're not looking for a solution. You're just looking for sympathy. You know, it's like that whole thing. I think it's Anthony Jeselnik, the comedian. Don't forget about me today. You know, hashtag, pray for Boston, pray for Paris, pray for Spain. Don't forget about me today. That's what that whole thing is all about. It's like all about like the narcissism that's going on in our society is absolutely out of control. So you need to just really, really take a step back and focus on what's really important to you. Because sympathy doesn't build the life that you want. Do you want to know what actually builds the life that you want? Stop fucking complaining and take some goddamn action. Figure out what it is that you want to do. What is it that you want to change? Get to the root of the cause. Do you hate your job? Do you hate your boss? Do you hate where you live? Do you hate your house? What is it? Change it. Is it your relationship? Change it. See, we're paralyzed to the whole idea and the whole notion that, that we have to just fight through whatever it is we're going through. No, fucking change it. That's the solution, is change it. So why complaining feels good but changes nothing? So here's the thing about complaining. It gives you the temporary relief. It makes you feel seen. It makes you feel like you're going to do something about it, but then it changes nothing because you haven't taken any action. Complaining is motion without movement. It's like trying to drive a car with no tires. What are you going to do? It tricks your brain into thinking that you took a step forward when really you're in the exact same spot, only worse, because now you've complained to everybody else about the situation and you haven't actually done anything about it. And lo and behold, we all know somebody like this. And maybe you've been that person before. I know I have. Back in my 20s, my late 20s, I hated where I was at. I felt lost, confused with what I was supposed to do with my life. I wanted to do something creative and have passion, but I was stuck in Manitoba in the middle of nowhere. Love Brandon, Manitoba. It's my home. It's where I grew up. I've got some great memories there, but I was stuck there. There was no life, and I wanted to be an actor. And what I did is I took action every day. I worked my ass off to save up enough money to be able to drive out to Vancouver, not once, but twice, because the first time I went out, it didn't work out for me. I had to quit. I had to come back because I fell into that fear that I wasn't good enough and that, I should just take the easy job and, do what everybody else is doing back home. And there's nothing wrong with that, but that's not what fueled my soul. And so I was that person. And when you see people like that, it usually sounds like this. I'd start my business, but the economy is so unpredictable. I'd go remote, but I'm just not that techie. I'd quit my job, but I don't know. I'm too old to start something new. I want to move abroad, but what if something bad happens, like a COVID or an earthquake? Well, shit, you could die crossing the street. So everybody has this fear. We're being fed all this fear that, like, no matter what, like, where we are right now is the safe space. You're not stuck. You're scared. And fear disguised as logic is just keeping you small. That's what society wants. They want us to be small. They want us to be, follow the narrow line. Get in line, get in order. And that's what COVID taught us. So COVID showed us who is willing to stand in line and follow direction. Well, tell you what, the people that didn't do it are probably a heck of a lot better off right now than the people that did, because they were out of the box thinkers. They were entrepreneurial. They pushed against the narrative. Yeah, maybe there was some conspiracy stuff behind that. We won't get into that. But those people pushed boundaries. Some of those people left the country and said, "Fuck that! I'm not staying in the winter in snowy Canada in the middle of winter. I'm going to go live in Mexico. I'm going to go live in Florida for 6 months. I'm going to get there before the borders close. We'll figure it out. We'll go to Bali, go to Thailand." People figured it out. Why? Is because they said they weren't stuck. And that's what started my journey. Is I kept seeing those exact people doing the things that I wanted to do. I felt stuck. Was I scared? I was scared of what would happen to me if I stayed. I wasn't scared of what would happen to me if I went. Because at the end of the day, as a human being, I've got that fight or flight mentality, and it's always fight. I will figure things out. I will figure it out when the time comes. If my back is up against the wall, I will bet on me 100% of the time. Because expecting results without doing the work is just going to lead to failure. So going back to that, I would bet on myself that I will find the results, because I will bet on myself 110% of the time. Now, here's the most mind-blowing part of all of this. People complain nonstop. They do none of the work and they still expect the results. I mean, they want freedom, but they aren't willing to risk the security of oh, I've got that cushy job. I've got that salary, that paycheck that comes in every 2 weeks. They want that passive income. They, but won't post a single offer. They want to travel the world, but won't cancel Netflix and save $15 a month because it's comfort. They come home from work, and that's what they do is they watch Netflix for 3 hours. They won't give up that Friday night dinner that costs them $200 a night. They won't cancel that. Every Friday night, they're going out and they're having drinks, they're partying with their boys, their girls. But they won't put that aside for the better good of their life. And the crazy thing is you're overpaying for it in our market anyway. Because where I'm in Vietnam, I could go do a night out with my wife, have a nice dinner. Something that would cost us $400 in Vancouver might cost us maybe $100 here. And I'll tell you what, we're having a hell of a lot better of a time, too. With the amount that you can spend on drinks, even though we haven't drank yet because we've been doing 75 hard, which we, so you're restricted with diet, no sugar, no alcohol, all that stuff. But we could go out and have an unbelievable steak dinner, beautiful steak, all the vegetables, the fixings, everything. We can do all of that. Have to skip dessert though. But we can do all that for like a fraction of the price because we canceled those dinner plans. We did all those things. We were like, wow, what's the point? Why we want to live the life and go and travel and enjoy this world that we're so fortunate enough to be able to do. So I say this with love, but also with honesty. You do not deserve the results of work you haven't done. You can't fake the growth. You can't scroll your way into success. You've got to take action consistently every single day. And I'm talking about 75 hard. If you want something that's just going to rewire your brain, do something like that, where every single day you got to do one workout outside, one workout inside. You have to read 10 pages of a self-help book. You have to follow a diet. I picked whole foods, no sugar, no sweets, and you can't drink alcohol. And you have to drink 1 gallon of water a day and take a progress picture. You got to do all those things every single day for 75 days. And I'll tell you what, that'll rewire your brain. That's taking action. During the pandemic, we weren't allowed to work. I got into running. I was running something like 35 to 40 kilometers a week. 5Ks, doing 5Ks, maybe some 10Ks, mostly 5Ks, and I would do them consistently because that was my therapy. The time that I could go run the seawall in Vancouver, which is absolutely beautiful, by the way. If you haven't done that yet, I recommend it. But that was my therapy. That was the thing that I was able to do. And that was what gave me the growth, the mindset to start thinking with your own thoughts. I would run with no music and just think about life, what I was happy about, what I wasn't happy about. You focus on the things that are important. Like, obviously at the time you're let's get to this next mile. Let's, you're focusing on your run, but then you start thinking about the things that are really important to you in life. And the things that were important to me was I want freedom. And everyone's freedom is differently. But that's the action that I took consistently. And then on top of that, because of those runs, everything else led me to going through the process of giving up an acting career that I was so passionate about. I absolutely loved what I was doing. There were some dark days, there were some hard times, and I was going through the struggles, but I wanted something more for myself because I felt stuck in a system where we were just told to get in line. And I wanted to travel, live life on the beach, get into the sun. Because the pandemic in Canada was a terrible time, especially in the winter. It was the worst in the winter. Summer wasn't too bad. You go camping, you do all this stuff, get outdoors. But the winter, oh man, that tested people. It tested a lot of people. But that led me to consistently working on new skills to get me out of the situation that I was in. And it was so uncomfortable. And it was extremely uncomfortable. But I took action even more when it was uncomfortable because that's when the growth happens. So let's remember this. You're not a tree. This is the power of choice. Let's go back to that. If you don't like how things are, change it. You're not a tree. Trees are stuck. They don't get to relocate when the climate gets bad. They don't get to change direction. But you've got choices. You've got a brain, you've got a conscience, a phone, a connection to the world. You can learn a new skill. And yes, learning new skills are something that is hard, but that's why you focus on the mindset first. If you can't get through the mindset phase of learning and before learning a new skill and go through the dark days, then it's going to be terrible for you. But you can, so like I said, there's things that you can do. You can start a side hustle with the current skills that you have. You can build a personal brand. I'm going to come back to personal brand in a moment. Apply for remote jobs, even though remote jobs aren't fully remote because there's restrictions. And, you see a lot of the companies now in the United States and Canada, they're doing, call back to the office, campaigns and whatever you want to call them. So is it really remote? But that's where building a new skill, starting a side hustle was going to help you. And then most importantly, you can move countries. People think it's so hard, but as a nomad myself, I'm currently in Vietnam. I lived in Canada my whole life. And everywhere I go, people have left for the exact same reasons that I have left. Because they want freedom. They don't want to be in the same place. Some people want to start over because they went through a bad breakup. They went through trauma, and this is part of their therapy is just to get away and start a new life and just like be free. And there's nothing more freeing than being in an absolutely strange culture that's different to what we're normalized to, where you can just be you and just meet people from all over the world because no one gives a shit. Nobody's judging you. If somebody's judging you, you never have to see them again. But if someone's judging you in your hometown, you got to face the music sometimes, and that sucks. So it doesn't have to be some giant risky leap. Just take one step, because one step turns into two, and turns into three, and then, four turns into reality. But nothing changes if you stay rooted into the same damn place. But I want to come back to that one thing that I mentioned about personal brand. Because personal brand is so important right now. Because let's go back even further. We'll talk about how people are complaining about AI. AI is going to revolutionize everything. It is going to change absolutely everything that's going on in our day-to-day lives, our day-to-day work, everything. AI is going to affect absolutely everything. There's no stopping it. You have to embrace it. It's like the .com era. Everyone rejected the internet when it first came out. Well, guess what? You use it every day. AI is going to be the same thing. So this is where personal brand comes in, because AI, yes, 1000% it's going to replace jobs. Because AI is faster than you, it's smarter than you, and it's cheaper than you. So if your job is at jeopardy, what's the best approach? Start learning new skills. Start creating a voice. Become an expert in something. Become a thought leader. Get your voice out there. Talk about things. Be passionate. If you're in data entry, talk about like anything to do with data. Start getting your voice out there. Talk about anything. If you're in customer service, talk about like why customer service is important. Talk about like the things that you go through, why things happen in your day-to-day life. Because that will add value, that will make you irreplaceable. Because we are entering an era right now where just applying for a job with your resume and your job history and your experience ain't going to cut it anymore. So now you have to think outside the box, build that personal brand, stand out, because that's something else that you can offer companies. And remote jobs, I'll touch base on that a bit. Like I said, remote jobs aren't remote jobs unless It is a fully remote job where you can work anywhere in the world. That is actually gives you that, that incentive. Because I work in recruitment. The amount of times that we see people get a remote job and they are restricted to sometimes not even being able to leave their city because they might, that odd chance, they have to go to the office. Same thing with the state or province, county, whatever, wherever it is you work, wherever it is you're from, that, you might not be able to leave that area. And if you're working government, you sure as shit can't leave the country without permission because you're taking sensitive data with you. So like remote jobs aren't really remote anymore. You can work from home, but it doesn't mean you can go and travel or go live in Mexico or, uproot yourself and, become a nomad. Sure, there's some people that, I know I've heard of tons of people, doing van life, living in Mexico or living in, traveling through like the national parks all across the United States, working remotely. There is ways to do it, but, again, you still might have to go into the office once in a while. So, and for those of you who are complaining about inflation and cost of living, etc., this is where moving to another country could really, really, really set you apart. The cost of living in Southeast Asia, if you can work remote, or if you do have an online business that's thriving, that funds your lifestyle, you could come over to Southeast Asia and live for 25% the price, save the rest, over for 1 year, and you're getting a little bit ahead. You come over here for 2 to 3 years, you're definitely getting ahead. The time zone's not the best, but it's a sacrifice. But during the day, you get to enjoy the sun, the beach, the mountains, whatever it is you want to enjoy, and then you work at night. But again, all this stuff, it requires action. It doesn't have to be, like I said, some giant leap, just one step. Because one step can turn into gold. It can turn into like this amazing life that you never even thought was even possible. Because like I said, one turns into two, turns into three, and then three turns into four, and then four turns into freedom. So listen, I get that life is hard. And I get that right now there's so much uncertainty in the world when it comes to, you know, the tariffs, all this stuff, what's going on in Canada, the United States. You see the stuff that's going on in the UK. Inflation is through the roof. Housing is through the roof. Life is hard. 1000%. And it's not going to get easier. So now's the time, if you think that you might have the opportunity to do something and you're itching to make a change, then my question for you is, what the fuck are you waiting for? Like, what are you waiting for? Because there is no such thing as a perfect time. Oh, I just want to wait for my bonus for my work. What if you don't get your bonus? So you have two options. Keep complaining about your life and hoping someone else changes it for you, which they won't, because no one gives a shit about what you go through in your life other than you, some of your family, and some of your friends. Your boss doesn't care. Your colleagues don't care. Nobody cares. So you can keep complaining about your life and hoping so like I said, someone else changes it for you, but they're not going to. Or you could take full ownership, full responsibility, and change it your damn self. Look at yourself in the mirror and think to yourself, is this what I want? One of my good friends, Derek Skoll, I mentioned this on the podcast. He was actually a guest. Said if you don't like your life, or if you want to test yourself about where you at in your life, if you were to die tomorrow, write your own eulogy. And man, that was some powerful words when he said that to me, because it really slaps you in the face. It takes you a moment to think about that for a second. Are you happy with what you've been leaving behind? The things that you've done, the things that you said that you want to do, and that you haven't checked a goddamn box off. You don't need permission. You don't need the perfect plan. You just need to start. Not next year, not next month, not next Monday. today. Research what you can do to start. And it starts with this: work on the mind, because you're going to go through challenges. So maybe the challenge for you is like, hey, you know what? I want to lose 10 pounds first. Well, fucking start today. Go for a run. Do you know how many videos I've watched of people transforming their life? I just watched one the other day of this guy who was overweight, not obese. He was just overweight. I think he was like 225 pounds. He was about 5'9", and he was on the verge of having diabetes. Unhealthy. And you know what he did? He wanted to become like David Goggins. He wanted to be tough like David Goggins. So he worked out for, I think it was like 365 days a year, or something like that. Maybe it was, I can't remember. Maybe it was 90. I'm getting a couple of things mixed up. This guy went from, and he wanted to run, he'd do 2 workouts a day and a bunch of stuff, but he had to run 12 miles a day. And he did it. And you should see the transformation of this guy. It was insane. But it started with the mind. He pushed through. He never gave up once. He went through injuries. You should have seen the blisters on this guy's feet every single day after week 2. Constantly having to do things, but he kept learning new ways to recover faster and better, eating healthier. It starts with up here. It starts with the head, the mind. But if you're not willing to do it, you're going to be stuck in those situations. And then 1 year is going to pass, 2 years is going to pass, 3 years is going to pass. And then guess what? You're in a situation where like, holy fuck, I just let all that time go and I could have done something about it. That's why I have zero regrets. It took me a while to get to Vancouver to pursue my acting career, to pursue acting, to get going. And I realized I wish I had came earlier. But it's part of my story though. So you have to make sure that you do things that's best for you. But do it for you. And there's going to be sacrifices at the beginning. There's going to be learning at the beginning. But when you get through that challenge and you get over that finish line, it's so fucking rewarding. I'm 6 days out from finishing 75 hard, and yeah, I'm going to have a bit of a celebration. I'm going to have a little bit of a snack, treat snack, this coming weekend. But then it's back to it. And I'm only going to do it once a week, where I have something where I can do something for myself, because I don't want all that hard work to go to waste. I am down 25 pounds since starting 75 hard. I feel great. I've shaved off something like 7 minutes on a 5K since day one. I could have been faster, but when you run so much, you start to have injuries, and yeah, it could be better. But 7 minutes difference on a 5K since the beginning, yeah, it's not where I want it to be, but I'm pretty damn proud of that. I'm pretty damn proud of the fact that my strength has gone through the roof because I've lifted weights almost every single day. I'm a way healthier person. My sleep is better. Everything is better. My mind is better. My drive is better. Everything, my libido, everything is just better because you put yourself through the challenge and you have to show up for yourself every goddamn day. So let me leave you with this. You can either keep telling the story of why your life sucks, or you can start writing the one where you change it. Because as Jim Rohn says, you are not a tree, so stop living like one. That's all I got for you today, guys. Be brave, be bold, and we'll see you on the road. Cheers.